Hey there, this is Kat, and thank you for joining me in my live podcast today. I have a special guest, and if you know anything about crypto, tokens, things like that, Brian is an expert in this arena, this field. And so I think it's always going to be interesting to see what direction this type of product goes because of the fact that we always hear so much controversy in it. But I have an expert, so he's going to enlighten us and help us understand it. Let me bring on Brian. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Kat, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Okay, so you are the founder of, and don't let me butcher your last name. Is
You
it
can butcher it. It's fine.
Espinoto? Espinoto?
Oh, actually, you butchered it. You actually did butcher it.
How do you say it?
Esposito.
Esposito. That's
Yeah.
right there. Okay, it looks like Esposito and Intellectual Enterprise LLC. So tell us a little bit about your background and who you are and what you're
Yeah,
doing.
well, thanks again, Kat, for having me. And an honor to speak with you and your listeners. So my professional career is over 23 plus years, always as an entrepreneur, always building, acquiring, merging, and starting companies and projects. So my private holdings, which is Espinosa Cesadio, Esposito Intellectual Enterprises, is currently consists of over 110 companies. There's over 200 joint ventures around the world and proudly operating in over 25 different industries. So it's quite an arsenal of IP, technologies, product solutions, and services, and great management we put in place to run these companies forward. And then they're supported by really good legal, accounting, compliance, and regulatory. It's really a one-stop shop that I've been building for, again, over 2 decades. Within that, some of the things that you mentioned is crypto or tokens or NFTs. Security tokens is where I really am leading and an authority in. We've been always building these types of technologies inside of my company. So it's never been as a speculator, never buying things like Ethereum or Bitcoin or some of these meme coins that you see promoted on Twitter and Discord. It's understanding that this is the future of commerce, the future of building community, new technologies, digital assets. So in my mindset is okay, it's a new medium for how we do business. There's things like credit card, checks, wire, and cash. So now there's a whole digital asset medium for transacting. So that was my mindset on it. And then how do we build these types of technologies inside of our companies? So we've done some amazing work. We were the first of its kind to roll out some global security token offerings through our partners with INX, who is a regulated by the SEC security token exchange. And for anybody listening and wondering what that is, because there's so much confusion in the market for what all these things mean. We're not crypto companies. We are regulated by SEC security token companies. So what that means is these are the future of stocks and bonds that live on a blockchain environment. So these are known as security tokens, and they operate under the rules and regulations of what a stock or a capital raise would look like by the SEC. So long story, very long, my career has evolved into kind of my life's work coming into fruition. In August of last year, I took over a public company known as Diamond Lake Minerals. The ticker symbol is DLMI. The stock was bouncing around for many years at 35, 50 cents. Just by me taking it over and where we're bringing this company and our new strategy and vision, and we're supported by some amazing icons of industry as advisors, the stock is sitting around $5-6 today. And what we're building is kind of replicating my private world of a parent General Electric style structure, parent umbrella company, multiple industry subsidiaries underneath it. And we've built the ability for people to invest in our company through buying our stock, but also people around the world to buy into our business units in the future by issuing security tokens. So we became the first of its kind hybrid of traditional securities merged in with what we believe the future of digital securities look like.
Okay, so what kind of businesses are you guys using this? Because I'm sure you get a lot of questions about that because usually when you make a transition, I don't know, I'm not a Bitcoin person. So I know when that came out, it just like hit, like it went out in a storm. And so I'm always curious, how do people get that to go viral and buy into it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, for a long time, it was the people that understood how to mine these things and being able to create value by utilizing technology and hardware and machinery known as computers or hardwares and chips. That's why companies like AMD and NVIDIA keep soaring because utilizing these components to create value or create things like mining Bitcoin. So you had those first movers that said, okay, this is something cool, this is interesting, and maybe they didn't like the structure of what we're used to, which are banks and
Yeah.
relying on government as, they're here to protect us and they're here to protect our money and your bank accounts FDIC. I've been through the dot-com bubble, I've been through the 08, 09 crisis, so my mindset has always been, I don't know what the hell's going on, but I do know I need to protect my world and control what I can control. And that's one of the reasons why I really love the idea of digital assets and taking custody of these things. And that would mean, which a lot of people don't understand yet, which is why there needs to be a ton of education, downloading a digital wallet, some of which like MetaMask or a Coinbase wallet or other exchanges you may have used around the world, and then putting these digital assets in there. Majority of the world don't understand that. They're intimidated by it. They don't want to
Yep.
put their personal information into that type of financial mechanism. But you're still seeing tremendous value with some of the world that's putting money into these things, such as that Bitcoin ETF and the price of Bitcoin. And then I think the price of the crypto markets is $1.6 trillion in all these different crypto tokens or these projects around the world. My concern with that is two things. I love seeing shift of wealth going from one medium to another. I think that's we've experienced that as humanity has evolved. It's gone through gold and silver. It was bartering. It was cash. It
Right.
was credit. Now it's digital. But the other concern about a lot of these projects, except for security token offerings, is that you have no idea who's running those projects. You
Right.
don't know the management team. You don't know anything about their business model. Nine out of 10 times don't even have a business model. It's just going on Twitter and promoting memes or promoting gifts and getting people to buy in and creating this inflation of a price that really doesn't necessarily have a value. So for me, that's a little scary for people putting their tax earnings into that because it could go to zero.
Yep.
And all investments could go to zero, but at least if you're working with things like security tokens, there's materials that have to get submitted to the SEC. There's compliance that has to get approved. Is a much more structured system behind it. There's management that's behind these companies, so the risk is a lot less, and you can still be involved in digital assets by just by getting involved with a security token offering, opposed to just going on some exchange and buying some funny little picture of a meme and thinking that thing's going to go to $1 billion, which it
Right.
could, but odds are it's not going to.
Right. Right. And a lot of times people are choosing these alternatives is because of the control factor, right? This that they want to know and make sure that their money is in appropriate places that they want to control.
Yeah, but the catch 22 to that is a lot of banks can turn off your account, even
Yeah.
present day, if you're maneuvering in things like crypto or you're putting money into digital assets that they question your account and is your account set up to do that. And a lot of people tilt their head at me all the time. I always say, well, when you say how much Bitcoin is worth, like I'll ask you, Kat, you don't have to give me the exact number, but what would you say after if it's at 40,000? What 41,000? What would be the following words you would say?
For a Bitcoin?
Yeah, if you were to say how much it's worth, so say it's 40,000, you would say Bitcoin's worth 40,000 US dollars, you might say?
Yeah.
USD, okay.
Yeah.
Well, they always compare it to that as the value proposition,
Yep.
and then you always have to convert it back to a fiat currency if you wanna go and buy something. If you wanna buy a car, you wanna
Yep.
buy a house, you wanna go to the grocery store and buy anything, it
Yep.
has to be turned into cash or credit. So all this maneuvering around digital assets and all these theories, you don't need banks, you don't need regulation, you don't need
Yep.
governments. If you want to buy something today, you need some sort of fiat currency or some sort of a piece of transaction that
Right.
another merchant would take.
Yep.
So it's like people hit the brakes when I ask them. I'm like, you can't just go with a Bitcoin and buy anything you want today. It doesn't work that way. Most places don't accept that. They don't take
Right.
that as legal tender. So there's still a lot. We're still in its infancy. It's great to see, but at the end of the day, you still have to rely on traditional infrastructure and
Yeah.
traditional banking and rules and regulations because that's what our entire system is built on.
Yeah. And then you also think about, is it universal? Right? Because I mean, we have multiple countries,
Hmm.
right? And I know that Bitcoin and all these things are universal, right? They're all in other countries as well. So it's not like it's any different. Is that correct? Or
It's cr-
because like with money exchange, because we have employees in other countries, the dollar here is different from a dollar anywhere else. So how does that play in, you know?
well, that's where it gets really cost conscious, and even BlackRock talks about the efficiencies of digital assets. So you can have cross-border payments. So if you have vendors or employees around the world
Yep.
and you want to send them a digital asset or some sort of digital token for their payment, or Bitcoin or Ethereum, you can send that across and to anybody's wallet, and you're paying the smaller transaction fee, and it's there immediately.
Yep.
So that's and 24/7. So it's not, you don't have to rely on banking hours, or weekends don't apply. So you have a lot of more efficiencies and usually less cost. Sometimes gas prices on Ethereum is kind of very high, so the transactional cost is sometimes could be really high. But in theory, you can move value from one wallet to another wallet very efficiently, very securely, and now that sits in your vendor's wallet, for example. But then they
Yep.
have to convert it to cash, right? They need to
Right.
pay their electric bill, they need to pay
Yep.
their whatever. So then you convert it inside of your digital wallet, and you then deposit it into your typical bank account. So that's the process of it. There's still some fees attached to that. But the concern is, until banking fully understands this, you may have very limited banking partners within your country or your region that would even allow you to sell a digital asset and put that cash from that wallet into your bank. So
Yep.
that's some of the hurdles that you still have to face, but we're getting there. I mean, the fact that that Bitcoin ETF got approved in the U.S. Regulatory, in my mind, uh, I didn't really care if that got approved or not for Bitcoin. I cared more for banking. Now that, to me, that should allow all banks in the U.S. to be able to allow their clients that have digital assets to be able to conduct business, whether it's a retail individual bank account or if it's a commercial bank account. So that's what I was very excited for, to see that thing approved.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I think, there's one country where it's super popular, Bitcoins are. I wanna say, like, maybe it's Venezuela or Argentina, one of
Venezuela now, and El Salvador was
yeah,
first to roll that out. But yeah, well, a lot of this is happening because their inflation is 150% in these countries. There's no value to their currency, so they have to utilize this new medium for building value back into their country and actually having something that has any value as their currency. So,
yeah,
and in the States, you saw Mayor Suarez in Miami lead this very strongly. I admired his strong initiative and push, which allowed Miami to be, one of the top cities in the country right now, because he was very forward thinking and utilizing that city and bringing really smart tech into that region of the country and bringing in innovation and supporting it. The state of Utah is doing this now very strong. Wyoming is doing this. So you're starting to see these states realize there's a shift happening. You adapt or die, like anything else. And unfortunately, when things like Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, and Silvergate Bank were forced to kind of shut down because of their initiatives in crypto and their support
yep,
in these companies, we lost our innovation stance in the globe. It's now shifted over to the Middle East and the UAE and Abu Dhabi. That's grabbing all of that talent and support for digital assets and things like security tokens and crypto and tokens and NFTs. So that part of the world is really becoming the capital for this. And we missed a good opportunity as a country to really put our flag in the sand and own that.
right, 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 and, I find that interesting because, like, with the employee that I have in Venezuela, wherever it was, they really insisted and wanted me to pay them in the Bitcoin, and I didn't have any, so I was like, "Well, I can't pay you what I don't have."
Well,
Do you know
that
what I
their
mean?
their concern was, especially the last few months, they couldn't even go to the bank and take any money out. They were completely limited to accessing their cash, and there was a good chance that their bank would just close and they would have no
Got it,
money.
got it, and
So
that's
that's
probably
probably
why.
their concern.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that makes sense, and so, but then you think about these new, opportunities, new ways to exchange money. I guess I have to relate it to, like, PayPal, right, or Zelle, because those are new ways to pay someone without,
Mhm.
giving them physical cash hand to hand, right? So, if you had to explain it, like, to someone like me who's not as intelligent in those types of systems, I guess that would be the most relatable way for me to understand,
Yeah,
right?
and your point is, and you shouldn't feel intimidated or insecure about that. Your point is exactly where it needs to be. As we move forward with digital assets, whatever they may
Mhm.
be. It needs to sit in a system where you don't even know a digital wallet was created for you. Like,
Right.
you need to be able to go onto your Chase account, your JP Morgan account, your Charles Schwab account, whatever bank or brokerage firm you have, and then be able to easily send money from A to B or buy a stock or buy a security token. When that's in there and built into that familiarity that you're used to over the last decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, that's when it becomes mainstream, when you don't have to go out of your normal process. And PayPal is a great example. I think they have a stable coin that they're creating around their technology, which would allow a digital wallet to be created and for you to send tokens from you to maybe to your employer or vendor in Venezuela. So utilizing that system is something that you're comfortable with because you've used PayPal forever. You bought things on eBay, you made payments to whatever through PayPal. So for someone like you, you're comfortable using that because you believe it's secure. You've been using it for so long, it's familiar to you. So a company like that would roll out sending crypto from A to B or a digital asset from A to B, that's where it becomes really easy. And that's when you start to scale because that's what people are used to. But if I
Right.
asked you to go download a MetaMask wallet and save your words and write them down somewhere, put them in a safe, don't lose them, you're like, this is ridiculous. I don't want to do this anymore. And that's the mindset of most people. And then putting money into that digital wallet, whether it's attached to your Firefox browser or your Chrome browser, you download the app, there's so many friction points,
Yep.
which is okay because that's part of this evolving and getting easier and getting other companies to innovate and make it more user friendly. But that's why when I took over as CEO for DLMI, all those friction points that I know and see firsthand from most people around the world, we want to be that stock that they buy and hold because we are in digital assets. We are in a regulated environment. We do condone and support regulation because we believe it protects people at the end of the day. We believe that the methodologies of regulations and putting an offering out into the market is done to the best of its ability to make sure that people have all the resources, research, and opportunities to make a decision if they want to put money into something. So that's why we've created this, and we will have that ability for people around the world to buy a security token into our companies and have the best of both worlds. So I believe we're the best hybrid approach to you know merging the two worlds.
Okay. And now is your business model is what's offering these, right? Is that
Our
what you're
business model with Diamond Lake Minerals is parent company. We've identified a bunch of industries that we want to be in. So again, when I took over in August, it's been a lot of re-strategizing. What does the future of this company look like? So we'll be in, wireless communications. We'll be in hospitality. We'll be in TV, film, and media and music. And a lot of the advisors that I brought in are icons in those industries. So we'll have their support and their experience to help us navigate leading those companies and opening up opportunities. So the model is parent umbrella. We nurture and build companies underneath that umbrella. We anticipate paying a dividend to our shareholders, and then also being able to, for the first of its kind, people around the world to get an INX or any other digital wallet for our security token offering. So, for an example, if we're going to be doing something in hospitality or a hotel industry, and we use traditional finance to build a hotel, but we also have the ability for, hey, inside of that hotel, maybe we'll share some of the room revenues with security token holders. So then put out an offering to the world and say, hey, do you want to buy into this hotel? You'll get X amount of percentage of the room revenues that come through, maybe get X amount of percentage of the events or the F&B or maybe some of the retail. So that's where it gets really fun because for the first time ever, people are allowed to buy into something that they never had access to before. Majority of the world didn't have the ability to buy series round of Facebook when it was going through its growth, or being able to buy the IPO when it went into the public markets. But now, because of security token offerings, anybody around the world, when you put the offering out there, in at least in non-sanctioned countries, they can buy into something and they could put a few dollars into it. They could put $1,000 into it. They could put $1 million into it. Is no restrictions anymore. So to me, finally, people can achieve creating wealth. People can actually be invited to the one percenters table for the first time in the world and actually be able to build value for themselves and create income for their household or their family. So that's part of our ethos and ethics here is that we have something that traditional finance can support and hopefully win with us, and we have something that anybody around the world can support and win with us.
Okay. So obviously you're making it a mission to get people to buy in because obviously I can tell that you're passionate about this, right? That's your mission.
My mission is to help as many people as I can. I've been through hell and back many, many times, and I know we have something special, and we have great partners that allow this to happen. We've got great technology that allows this to happen. And anybody around the world has one of these things.
Right.
They may live in a hut in some village, but they have an Android smartphone, which is bizarre to see, but it's a reality. And if we can have that smartphone create a way to earn and have them make extra money at whatever value that is, if it's digital assets, if it's dividends in their fiat currency, if it's being able to buy real world assets such as gold and silver or real estate because they threw $3 into something. We want to be that leader to be able to do it correctly, ethically, and within the guidelines of regulatory and that framework.
Yeah. And I guess the biggest thing for people is a trust factor, I guess. And I'm sure you hear that and see that because of all the chaos that has happened with it's not even just with like Bitcoins and things like that, but crypto. It's also with regular money, right?
Yeah.
Regular money that people get taken advantage of. Someone says they're going to make them a wealth of money. And then, we have these falls and, all their money is gone. Someone exhausted it for their own personal selfish reasons, right?
Yeah, and that's the other thing why I think allowing the regular person to buy into something
Mhm.
offsets that volatility. For example, in '08, when Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers were
Yep.
collapsing and all these banks were collapsing, they were relying on traditional financing to boost their balance sheets and give them some liquidity to weather that storm. Some companies and banks got blessed, some didn't. Then it relied on the government backing them and creating TARP funds, which were these emergency funds that went into some institutions because they were too big to fail. But I look at that environment and I say, well, damn, imagine if at that time, if Bear Stearns could have went into the world with a security token offering and to millions and millions of people and said, hey, we need X amount of dollars, and people put $5 in, $10 in, $100 in, but on the scale of millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people. Well, I think that's a really interesting way to help institutions or companies shore up their balance sheet in the event of a potential collapse. Now, we're going to see this very strongly in real estate again, in commercial real estate. There are
Yep.
trillions of dollars of paper out there that's going to have a big issue over the next X amount of months to years. The traditional way, there's no way there's enough liquidity out there to be able to offset that leverage that all this paper is out there. But
Yeah.
I do believe with things like we're creating and security token offerings where you can open that up where somebody living in Japan can buy into a piece of real estate that happens to be in Las Vegas, or somebody living in Australia can buy a piece of real estate that happens to be in Idaho, whatever
Yep.
the case may be. That's never been able to be done before until
Yep.
now. And
No.
that's where I anticipate, done correctly with the right education and the right models, you can offset global collapses.
Okay. But doesn't that make the value of your dollar the same everywhere?
What do you mean?
I mean, I'm
Explain
just
that.
trying to wrap my arms around it because, like, if I travel to Mexico, my dollar is worth more than the peso, right? So
Correct.
how
And
Go ahead.
no, go ahead. Finish
I
your
was gonna
question.
say, so in my mind, because 'cause I'm just simplifying it, right? Like, if I go and use my credit card in Mexico, it'll do the exchange rate, right?
Mhm.
On my credit card through an ATM or through their transaction. It will automatically do the exchange rate based on what the exchange rate is for that time period, right?
Correct.
And so if I have, some kind of FTP kind of Bitcoin or whatever kind of like money, then how does that exchange, or is it universal? It's the same, I guess. I'm trying to wrap my arm around that.
Well, I guess it depends where you are and what you're buying. So if you are conducting commerce in Mexico and
Yeah.
you only have Bitcoin, let's just say for argument's sake, if I'm following your
Yep, yep,
question and
yep,
thought
yep,
process, and that vendor or that merchant or that cafe or hotel or car dealer, again, wherever you are, if they don't have a wallet to be able to say, I'll send you 0.0001 Bitcoin for
yep,
this turkey sandwich, whatever it may be, then you'd have to convert it into fiat currency and put it into your bank to use your debit
Right.
card, or you'd have to fund your credit card, or you have to a prepaid card, whatever you have that their system or their merchant takes. But it still would convert to the transaction value of what you're trying to buy. So
Okay.
it's not, I know what you're saying, but it still gets granular depending on where you are in the world and how much that 0.0001 Bitcoin is worth in that country.
Got it.
And
Yeah.
it all depends on inflation and how and what you're trying to buy. You might be getting a great deal depending on what you're buying.
So it works the same as if I put in my head the dollar and the exchange rate. It's pretty much
Yeah, if they took Bitcoin in that Mexico example, and it would be Bitcoin is worth X amount of pesos.
Yep.
So
Yep.
this would you need to send me to my wallet 0.00000000
Yep.
0.000001 Bitcoin for this hat that you're buying at
Yep.
my shop.
Okay. Okay. No, that makes sense. And I can get I guess I'm just trying to wrap my arms around it. Because at the end of the day, I mean, here's the reality is everybody wants to protect their money and everybody wants to have their money in different various ways. And it's like you said, it's just a wallet that's holding it. And then it has something that's backing it, right? Because with the bank, it has its FDIC, and I know it's FDIC, right? But it's also like you said, somebody could close my bank tomorrow if I was having a bunch of transactions going in and out. They
Yeah,
have the control of my account.
correct. And if
Yeah.
you had $400,000 in that bank account, you're only going to be insured for $250,000 because of
Right.
the FDIC. So you have
Yep.
to be smart about having multiple accounts and leveraging the rules and regulations and systems to make sure you protect your tax earnings and what
Yep.
you've been able to save. But yeah, there's a time where this is I don't know why humanity does this. I guess it's just part of we just like to forget stuff. But there's every decade there's a collapse of some sort. There's a
Oh no, I
correction.
know. Yep.
So, but people just don't realize that. I mean, look at the stock market today, and I haven't bought a stock since 2008 because I was involved heavily in these
Yep.
what were sold to me as government-backed securities, and then when the blank hit the fan, they were not government-backed securities; they were worthless. So I said, okay, well, that's when I really emphasized I know what I can do, so I'm going to invest in me, and I'm going to go out there and earn because I know what I can return based off
Right.
of my skills and what I can continue to learn and evolve into. But I look at the stock market and I'm like, there's no way this continues to go up. But if you talk to certain people, they're like, what are you talking about? This is going to go. But why? It was 10,000 not even that long ago. Now we're
Yeah.
touching 40,000. You really think it's just going to keep going up? Just like your home price is just going to keep going up. Like,
Yeah.
no, the only thing that's going to keep going up is things like gas and eggs and everything else that you have to buy to survive. That's what's going to keep going up. But the asset class that has these bubbles attached to it, they pop all the time. But my God, people forget. I guess
Yeah.
the ignorance is bliss. I get it, but you still have to be smart about at least diversifying because it's not sustainable the way it is.
No, and I'm glad you said it that way because now I can wrap my arms around it because the what I can relate to that you just said is the control part of it. Okay, because the real estate did get hit, right? It got hit pretty hard.
Mhm.
And so as a business broker, what I see is a lot of investment companies buying a bunch of businesses that have cash flow, big cash flows, because that's the way they're investing. They're like, I'm just going to make money, and
Yeah,
reinvest that money into something else. And so I'm seeing a big, huge bump in that, and people buying businesses like they did real estate, where they just have a portfolio of these businesses, you know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I say if you want to be in business, you got to make money. If you want to stay in business, you got to be profitable.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
know where this got thrown out of whack where, oh, you just got to keep raising money and running out of money and raising
No,
money and running out of money and making up valuations. And
no.
it's a bizarre system that a lot of people have got brainwashed into. So when I work with companies and startups, I'm just like, hit the brakes. What do you want to do? What are you selling? Let's go sell one. And
Yep.
let's build a business around you selling one. If it's a piece of IP, a software, if you're making a new sweater, if you're making
Yep.
a hair care line, go out and sell the product and let's find your margins. Let's find the right price points. Let's get your distribution channels set up. And then, hey, let's sell another one. and then
Yeah.
let's sell another one, and then grow, like you said, grow from your cash flows. Now, in that environment, going out and raising money or getting friendly bank debt, it's a lot easier to fuel a business that has earnings coming into, rather than trying to beat your head against the wall to go and raise money in hopes of a business when you don't even have a dollar one in the door yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. 100%. I love it. Awesome. You helped bring it back around for me.
What I do.
Oh,
That's what I do
okay.
best.
Okay, Brian. So, I mean, are you open to helping people? Like, who are you helping? And tell us that opportunity and possibility.
Yeah, no, it's something I'm really fond of. Over the last 7 years, I created this parallel model where startups, even up to some certain Fortune 500 companies, they reach out to me. They want to bring me on to help them grow, help them navigate, succeed. So I love working with founders and startups, and I love, within reason.
Yep.
I need to let founders get beat up a little bit so they get seasoned, but I love being there to help them navigate certain waters and help protect them and guide them in some of the, avoiding the pitfalls that I went through, because I made every mistake you can think of, and happily, because it allowed me to know that I can get through anything, and I'm not shocked when I see anything in the world. But
Yep.
when I get to work with these companies, and reference back to what I first started with, there's an arsenal of access and what I built over the last few decades. So dropping a startup into my ecosystem, I help get them in some strong momentum. I help give them credibility. I connect them with strategic partners. I open up doors and access, or maybe markets they didn't even think of as far as their product or their offering.
Yep.
And to see a founder that maybe has a second mortgage on their home, or they have their credit cards maxed out, and to see life go back into them is it's a contagious feeling for me. I love that. I want to see that over and over again, because I've been there, yet I didn't have someone like me helping me. I had to
Right.
go and figure it out. So for me, it's therapeutic to look back and say, "Oh, I went through all of this because I get to help people now." And
Yeah.
that's really what I love to do.
That is awesome. That's fantastic.
Thanks,
So,
Kat.
people can connect with you on LinkedIn. I put your website address up, which is eie.rocks.
That's it. Thank you.
And yeah, absolutely. And then they can connect with you on LinkedIn if they want to just ask you a question or reach out to you, right?
Absolutely. LinkedIn, X, Instagram, TikTok, Brian J. Esposito. It's the same across all platforms. And I love when people reach out. So please don't be shy. And if it's not me, reach out to anybody that you admire in your industry.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a place of weakness to ask for help. I actually think it's a place of strength. And you'll be
Mhm.
very surprised. I do believe people are inherently good. And when you are tactful in your approach, I think you'd be very surprised that people want to help each other, and just surround yourself with good people as best as you can.
Yeah, I think you're very modest, Brian. I checked you out, and I think
Thank
people need to check you out because you have quite the accolades. So
you.
they should go to your website for sure.
Thank you, Kat. Right back at you. I appreciate the chat today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. See you later, Brian.
Ciao, my friend.
Thank you for joining me today on the Stand Out and Grow podcast. Hope you really enjoyed Brian's conversation with me. And if you have any questions for Brian, please reach out to him. Don't be afraid to reach out. I think it's worth your time, especially if you're a startup, because he's willing to give back. So until next time, you got this. What is the one thing that you need in order to sell your business successfully and at a price point that you are going to love or you can live with? So, in order to sell your business for a maximum value, you need to have three good years of accounting and growth. Hey, I'm Kat Ramirez, CEO and founder of 10X Business Broker. If you need help or if you need someone to give you a business valuation, reach out to me and connect with me. I am happy to help you out. You got this.